Hi, I'm JJ, and you're listening to Microphone Munchies, food for thought that'll get you hungry for more. So, I've been away for a while. It seems to be every once in a while, like, bloop, I disappear. And forgive me, I've been kind of, I guess, caught up in work, but to be very honest, I don't know. I just haven't really felt like making anything. And so today I want to talk about what's been going on. I want to talk about some ideas I've been thinking about, as well as, well, what's next? What is the next step? To be honest, I don't really know, but hopefully all of you are doing well. Hopefully everyone is safe and sound. And, well, the world keeps going. I have no idea how people always, I have so much respect for the people who can make things over and over again and make so much content because it is so hard. Oh, well, it's not hard. It's more like it requires a lot of discipline. It requires a lot of you just got to show up. And it's weird. It's not hard in the sense that anyone can do it. You just talk in front of a camera, but it's hard to keep going, especially when maybe you run out of ideas. Maybe you don't feel like doing it. Maybe you have other things in your life like work or family commitments or health commitments or whatever. Maybe you have other things in your life. And so that's something that I find really fascinating. Once anything in the world that you enjoy, let's say like movies, let's say art, let's say music or dance, when you actually do it yourself, you will realize that it's not quite as easy or quite as simple as you thought. Like, for example, a simple video on Instagram or TikTok actually takes so long to make if you actually make it. And so I have so much respect for anybody creating anything, because it's kind of like that it's like that quote, I can't remember it right now, but the person who is spectating, they don't have the right to critique because they're not in the gladiator arena. They're not the ones actually facing defeat and failure all the time. So for all of you out there, you're trying to make something, whether it's business. I do think that business, like entrepreneurship, for example, is a creative act. You're an artist. You're an artist of business. Whether you're just creating a career, whether you're creating your life in your passions, maybe you're cooking, maybe you're making things, I salute all of you and best of luck with everything, especially well, it could be anything really, like any sort of productive. Well, anything can be productive. Oh, okay, if you're not like me and just sitting at home watching Crunchyroll anime and Netflix all day, then congratulations and good job to you. Let's see what's happened in the last while. Well, there's quite a bunch of things. I mean, my brain is starting to mash up because I haven't done this in so long. But I think the biggest thing over the last while is in May, I've been working on a lot of new skills. And I've just been trying my best to just keep working and not think about tomorrow. But it's really interesting because when you're doing that, it's very easy to lose perspective on what you're doing because you're so caught up in this fight or flight mode. Every day is just a new challenge, a new problem to solve. And it's very fun. Like the days pass really quickly. I can't believe it's already the end of May because in my brain, May just started. And yet at the same time, when you're doing this, when you're always working, you're always hustling, you're always grinding, you can feel like you're not living life, like you're just kind of floating around. And I think I think it's incredible. I think it's incredible how people who do so many things, how they can still have time to make their own creative stuff. So I just, wow, like, I don't know how some of you do it. I have so much respect for all of you, especially those of you who are working on multiple projects or multiple things at once, because all I want to do after I finish work is just nothing. So it's incredible. One thing that's really become apparent to me, and this is something that might help you as well, is to keep note of your habits and to keep note of things like when certain habits start to fall off. It's not necessarily like you have to, I mean, things happen in life, right? So you're not going to have a perfect life all the time. But when certain things fall off, I realize that these are kind of like whispers. It's like the universe or your body whispering to you that something is not quite right. For example, in my case, when I start sleeping late, not because I have to, but I'm just in bed on Netflix or Instagram because I don't feel like sleeping, because I didn't feel like I did anything with the day, even though I was working all day. When I start sleeping late, when I start eating out more, I'm buying more takeout food. And when I'm like spending more, like I'm just spending money on silly stuff. Like I'm not hungry, but I'll go and get a coffee. When I'm doing that, that's when I realize something is off. And I think that if you can realize in your own life what kind of habits are, making you lose focus, that can be something that's really helpful as well. The last thing I want to mention really quickly is just one thing I've been thinking about a lot is the interconnectedness of the world and the fact that the world isn't naturally like this. Nobody said the world has to be this way. For example, if certain countries around the world had responded differently to COVID-19, maybe today would look different. If different people didn't create their companies, the world would be different. If certain things happened in a different way, like if Genghis Khan actually invaded Japan, maybe the world would be different. Who knows? So there are so many things that I'm thinking about this because I think it's something that actually Dave Chappelle said. He either said it in, I was listening to his the podcast episode with Joe Rogan, and Dave Chappelle was talking about like the fact that yes, now people are more aware of things like racism. People are aware of the fact that it's not just something in the history books, right? It's something that happens all the time. Social inequality, social movements, things that are happening around the world. Like, for example, what's happening now in Palestine, what's happening now in Israel and Palestine, what's happening with the Uyghurs in China. So many things. There infinite number of things, and sometimes you can get drowned in it because if you're on social media, if you're on the internet, the world just seems terrible, right? Although objectively, if you put all the statistics together, we're actually still in one of probably the best time in human history if you add up all the different terrible things together. The only problem is we get to see it all. Whereas before, if you live in your own little city, your own little country, your own little place, you don't really think about what's happening on the other side of the planet. But now we're all connected. We can talk to each other live with video, great quality video from someone that you've never met. And so it just seems like there are more problems. But actually, we can and we are making a difference. And that's something it's very hard to remember because a lot of times, every time I see all this stuff that's happening, whether it's, there's just so much stuff I can't even think about. I can't even express all this right now, but it's very easy to just hole up in a wall. Like, honestly, for me, whenever I see all these things, I'm privileged to do so. I can just shut everything off and just watch Netflix or watch anime. But it's important to realize that our voice does matter, even if it's a little bit, because you don't know who was listening, right? You don't know if somebody who actually has power, or maybe you in the future, you will have the power to make a difference. And everything counts. It's like that idea I remember where if you think about like when you're heating up food, right? Before a certain temperature, the water is not boiling. Before 100 degrees Celsius, the water isn't boiling. Does that mean that every degree of heat is useless? No, because every degree is useful to get to that 100 degrees. So even though if it seems like there is no change, keep doing it. Keep asking, keep learning, being open to things. And honestly, it's not easy. Like Dave Chappelle says, everything that happened now, like the rights that we take for granted today, are not naturally, humans don't naturally become better. We had to fight for it every step of the way. There were people, good people around the world who are questioning things, who are fighting for things that if they're wrong, they're wrong. If they're right, they're right. People get it. People can get it mixed up. Everyone has their own opinion on certain things, but in general, it requires us not to just watch, but to participate. And that participation can come in many different ways. It can come in like donations. It can come in talking about things, just having conversations with people in your life, like with your friends, with family. Look, if everyone talks with their family, then it spreads. And that's how change happens. It's by word of mouth. So these are just some random ideas I'm thinking about, I suppose. I'm reflecting on a quote from Steve Jobs, and he said, "Everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than you. And you can change it. You can influence it. Once you learn that, you'll never be the same again." And so that's what I'm thinking about right now. Oftentimes, I feel really hopeless. I feel really helpless, whether it's in my own personal life, whether it's in career and job. Like, I don't know what the future will hold. I don't know what will happen to the industry that I'm in. For example, I'm an English teacher. Maybe in the future, it's all going to be gone with AI and stuff. Maybe everything's going to be online. Why would you need a teacher? Blah, 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 blah. I look around at the world and think this world just terrible. Every day there's something happening. Another mass shooting. Every day there's something happening. Every day, more protests, more inequality, more oppression, And at the same time, I have to remember that it's not all hopeless. And that's the joke. That's the lie. The lie is to make you think that your vote doesn't matter. The lie is to make you think that what you have to say doesn't matter, that you're inconsequential. Because if you don't speak up, if we don't speak up, then I guess that's the status quo. So I'm very curious to see what will happen around the world. In many different forms, whether it's in things like what will happen in life after COVID, when people realize, remote work actually does work, that people should have probably higher wages, more security, paid sick days, that kind of thing. What will happen around the world in terms of recognizing systemic racism, recognizing things like, the Israel-Palestine, that is actually, it's actually, how should I say? It's a complicated issue that is actually, I wouldn't say simple, but there is definitely a very big imbalance. And I think that the world is waking up to that. I think the world is waking up to the fact that it's not anti-Semitic to criticize the government of Israel. It's not that things can be complicated, but it doesn't mean we don't need to talk about them. We can break it down. We can still deal with complicated things. And I think that I'm hopeful. I think with the younger generations, I'm very hopeful because they're so much smarter than us, and they're so much kinder in certain ways, and they know so many things so fast, right? They're constantly looking at, whether or not something is real, whether something isn't. Of course, there's going to be plenty of people that just share stuff for no reason, just because it's hot. But there are plenty of people out there who do their research, their due diligence, they present things, and I don't know, I'm really hopeful, even though it might be misplaced. Maybe the world is terrible. I have no idea. But that's all the stuff that I've been thinking about lately. And what's next? In my case, I really want to dance more. It's summer now in Toronto, and it's getting warmer. And I want to dance more. I want to get back into the languages. I haven't been doing any language stuff for over a few months. And so, yeah, and maybe certain things here will change too in this space. I'm going to try to work on my YouTube more, try to write more, and maybe play around with the podcast a little bit. But I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you so much for listening to me ramble. And I want to say the big takeaway from today is simply remember that your voice matters. Even if you feel like you're so small, well, many small people together is big group. And so I just want you to remember that. And yeah, it's very easy to get caught in this flame wars and stuff. I guess the last idea I'll leave you with is actually one I read today from James Clear, which is the fact that we have to remember most of the time when you change someone's mind, you're not just changing their mind, you're changing their tribe. And to be honest with you, sometimes people know what they believe is actually wrong, but they don't want to admit it because if they were wrong, that means they'll lose all their friends. They're going to be lonely. So I guess, I don't know if it's compassion, but when you think of it like that, it makes sense why people believe in all these crazy, stupid things. For example, I'm an Arsenal fan. I believe in Arsenal no matter what. But objectively speaking, we suck. Objectively speaking, we're probably going to suck for quite a while. And yet, I want to still say we're the best team in the universe. This is tribe. Because if I say we are terrible and I should actually support a different team, I'm going to be very lonely. All my Arsenal friends will say I'm a traitor. And so this is the similar kind of concept when we look at these quote-unquote complicated issues. I think it's very important to recognize that at the end of it, we're still human. We have still like the, what do you call it, the reptilian brain. We have not evolved that much in the last hundreds of millions of years. So, or is it just millions? Maybe just millions. Maybe just. I'm not an anthropologist, so I don't really know. But we haven't evolved. We haven't evolved that much. We're not actually that much smarter than our ancient relatives. So just to keep that in mind. Anyway, I've finished rambling for today. Thank you so much for listening. Feel free to share with people. I don't know why you would, but feel free to share with people if you think this is interesting for them. And keep posted. I'm going to be playing around with new things. I think in the future, I'm going to start to have guests as well and talk about different things that are interesting, different things that will get you thinking, and we'll take it from there. Of course, if you have any comments or any ideas for things you want me to talk about, please let me know. And yeah, thank you so much again. Please stay safe, stay well. I'll see you next time. That's JJ out.